Hello my friends, we've made it to July, and if you're looking for an escape from the relentless headlines, you're not alone, and I hope that this good news show adds a bit of balance and lightness to your week. From an area of ocean the size of France getting full protection, to a factory in Brazil breeding millions of mosquitoes on purpose for a genuinely brilliant reason, I've handpicked some solid stories for you today. If you're new here, I'm Sam and I make videos highlighting good news and solutions to some of the world's biggest problems. And if you've been here before, it's lovely to have you back, and if you've been enjoying these roundups, tap that like button down below to help more people find some good news. So let's get into it, and our first story takes us to Albania, where a movement known as the Flamingo Revolution won support from the European Parliament after more than 100,000 people took to the streets in 18 days of protests. MEPs are calling on Albania to repeal a controversial law that allows development inside protected areas and to immediately pause new construction in the Vjosa Nata wetlands. The protected landscape is home to flamingos, sea turtles, monk seals and hundreds of bird species, making it one of the Mediterranean's most important ecosystems. The Parliament's vote sends a clear message. The environmental protections and the rule of law are non-negotiable for countries hoping to join the EU. With Albania aiming for EU membership by 2030, lawmakers have made it clear that protecting nature cannot be sacrificed for development, and for the people who spent weeks filling the streets, it shows that public pressure can make a difference. The fight for Vjosa Nata isn't over, but this vote gives campaigners a powerful boost and a real chance to protect one of Europe's most precious wetlands before it's too late. For this next story, we're heading to Brazil, home to the world's first mosquito biofactory, and if you're wondering why anyone would breed mosquitoes on purpose, the answer is surprisingly hopeful. For more than a decade, scientists have been using a natural bacteria called Wolbachia to reduce mosquito-borne diseases. Let me explain how it works. When mosquitoes carrying Wolbachia are released into a community, the bacteria spreads through the local mosquito population and, over time, greatly reduces their ability to transmit viruses like dengue and Zika. This approach has now been used in 15 countries and helped protect more than 16 million people, inspiring Brazil to open the world's largest mosquito biofactory in 2025. It can produce around 100 million Wolbachia infected eggs every week. From there, the eggs are sent to regions facing the highest risk, allowing entire cities to be reached at once instead of one neighbourhood at a time. For communities that face mosquito-borne diseases every year, this makes a real difference. It reduces infections, eases pressure on hospitals, and gives people a chance to live with less fear. Meanwhile, some good news is emerging from the world's coastlines as the world's mangrove forests are making an unexpected comeback. For decades, these coastal forests were disappearing as they were cleared for fish farms, agriculture and development. But a new study led by Dr. Zhen Zhang at Tulane University has found that since 2010, the world has actually been gaining more mangroves than it's been losing. The researchers, working with Aberystwyth University in Wales, say stronger legal protections have helped, but the biggest reason is that mangroves are remarkably good at recovering on their own once people stop cutting them down. And that's great news because mangroves are some of nature's most powerful climate and coastal defenders, and whenever I talk about mangroves, I love to showcase this really simple demonstration that shows how mangrove forests can reduce the impact of waves on coastal communities. They can also store up to 5 times more carbon than land-based forests, protect communities from storms and tsunamis, and provide vital habitat for fish and wildlife. Next we head to the Pacific, where French Polynesia gave the highest level of protection possible to an area of ocean the size of France. More than 200,000 square miles of ocean around the Austral and Marquesas Islands will now be fully protected, meaning industrial fishing, mining and trawling are completely off limits, while local communities will still be able to fish in traditional ways. It's the single biggest contribution any country has made so far towards the global goal of protecting 30% of the planet by 2030. These waters are home to whales, sharks, sea turtles and species found nowhere else on Earth. Combined with protections announced last year, French Polynesia is becoming one of the world's leading examples of ocean conservation in action. And staying with good news for the ocean, scientists uncovered a surprising reason for hope for the world's coral reefs. They found 166,000 square kilometres of coral reef, about the size of Florida, that could survive our warming oceans, 3 times more than they ever expected. By analysing more than 45,000 coral surveys alongside decades of climate and ocean data, they identified reefs across 71 countries that appear capable of resisting and recovering from climate change. Many of these resilient reefs are in places that weren't previously recognised as climate refuges. And protecting our reefs is super important. They support around a quarter of all marine life and have been hit hard by rising ocean temperatures and mass bleaching events. But scientists say the findings offer a rare reason for optimism and could help governments protect the reefs with the biggest chance of surviving into the future. Before these last batch of stories, I want to say a big thank you to my Patreon and YouTube community who helped me produce these videos and bring some awareness to the amazing scientists, innovators and people on the ground working to make a better future for us all. For the price of a cup of coffee each month, you can help me tell more of their stories, hear more good news throughout the week, and get your name credited in the videos too. To support, simply scan this QR code right here or type this link down below to become a patron. Or if you'd rather not leave YouTube, simply tap that join button down below to become a member over here instead. Now back to the good news, and this next story is about a simple injection that's giving new hope to cancer patients who'd run out of options. A new treatment called amivantamab, given as a simple jab, made tumours vanish completely in 15 patients with advanced head and neck cancer after both chemotherapy and immunotherapy had stopped working. In an international trial involving 102 patients, tumours shrank or disappeared in 43 people, often within weeks. The results were led by researchers at the Institute of Cancer Research in London and the Royal Marsden NHS Foundation Trust, and presented at the world's largest cancer conference in Chicago. One patient, 56-year-old Carl Walsh, went from struggling to speak and eat because of tongue cancer to having his speech return to normal and his pain greatly reduced. Professor Kevin Harrington, who led the research, called these unprecedentedly strong responses in patients whose options were extremely limited. It's still early days, and for these patients the treatment is about extending and improving life rather than a cure, but for people whose cancer keeps progressing despite every other option, this simple jab could be a real breakthrough. Now I'm going to pass the mic to a past version of me that went on an adventure to hear about something that could change aviation forever. Hello Studio Sam, it's past Sam here, and I'm on my way to Derbyshire, and I'm really excited about this trip because we're going to learn about a plane that's being designed to fly non-stop around the entire world, powered by green hydrogen only. That's 9 entire days in the air without burning a single drop of fossil fuel, and they're aiming to take off in 2029. As we know, our world runs on fossil fuels, but this project, called Climate Impulse, asks what if it didn't have to? So to send a message to all fossil fuel reliant industries, they decided to take on one of the biggest players, aviation. The man who set this challenge, a real pioneer of clean technologies, Bertrand Piccard, has already flown a solar plane around the world. And while he set the challenge, helping make this crazy idea a reality are the team at ScienceCo, a science company and the project's technology partner. They provide all the composite materials needed to build the plane's structure and safely store the liquid hydrogen, as well as materials to power the fuel cell. And today they invite me to their UK manufacturing site to see how the project's coming to life. But I wanted to understand, why is building with hydrogen such a big deal? Why hasn't this been done before?
So the key challenge of this project is to store this liquid hydrogen. And so it is stored at minus 250 degrees C, and that puts an enormous stress on the material. You can simply break a material by cooling it down.
With storing hydrogen being such a big challenge, every part of the plane has to be engineered to perfection. And right here, they're building two key parts. The very front, called the radome, made to withstand strong impacts, and the end of the wings.
So this is the winglet. It sits at the edges of both wings, and it's there to improve the airflow around the wing. So typically towards the edge of the wing, you get a sort of a funny situation with the airflow.
The light weighting and the design of the winglets reduce drag, which will extend the duration of the flight by over 1,200 kilometers.
Wow. So getting these wingtips right means the plane can fly a further distance of New York to Florida. And this is a great challenge because while it might not get rid of fossil fuels overnight, it proves the technology is real and it pushes everyone else to catch up. And working on this, what makes you feel hopeful?
I mean, I think the very existence of such a project is very exciting. There's people like Bertrand Piccard who want to invest everything they have to get rid of he always used the word eco-pessimism. Mm-hmm. So to go out there and say, look, it is actually possible and we just have to try hard. And I think that's a great mindset.
That's the bit that really gives me hope. I'm following this all the way to the round the world flight, so make sure you're subscribed to follow along too. And for our last story, we stay right here in the UK, where a landmark decision could change the way we think about protecting nature. The entire catchment of the River Wye has become the first full river system in the UK to be formally recognised as a living ecosystem with rights of its own, including the right to flow and to be free from pollution. The charter has already been adopted by Powys and Herefordshire councils and covers the river's entire journey from the mountains of Wales to the Bristol Channel. It comes after years of concern over severe pollution, much of it linked to the rapid growth of industrial chicken farming in the area, along with sewage spills. Once one of Britain's most celebrated rivers, the Wye has suffered major algal blooms and a dramatic decline in wildlife, with some campaigners warning its approaching ecological collapse. But supporters hope that giving the river recognised rights will help strengthen efforts to restore and protect it. And while the Charter doesn't create new laws, it's part of a growing global movement to give nature a legal voice, and it could become a model for rivers across the UK. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to hear more good news, check out this video right here and tap the like button down below if you've enjoyed this video. I'll be back in a couple of weeks, my friend, with another good news episode. Bye!